It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Top of the hour, it's time, Joe. It is. It's time to get to the nitty-gritty. We like to look at all these games, go over them with a fine-tooth comb, but also understand this. There are props available, Joe, that the people should be checking out as well in some of these monster football games. And those monster football games start USC, Oregon, mid-afternoon, double-digit favorite right now for the Oregon Ducks, as you see there, at minus 10.5 in a total. That's coming in live at 59.5. So, Joe, once again, we'll start there. This is a price point that we weren't expecting early in the week. 7.5s, 8s in the marketplace today, 10.5s in the marketplace. Give me your thoughts on the side and the total once again first here on this move.
Yeah, it's intriguing that Oregon, the line is moving in their favor with Brandt and Moore out, potentially the 2 top wide receivers for this game, but they are at home. And we talk about the weakness of USC. I still think it's run support. The last 4 games, they've given up over 200 yards per game to opposing offenses. That's potentially what Oregon and this offense have to do without their 2 big playmakers in this matchup. They're balanced, 233 on the ground, 241 in the air, but that's asking a lot out of Sadiq and some of those other wideouts to step up in that absence. I don't think Dante Moore throws for only $120, but it is the rushing attack that takes over. So I like Oregon, but I like the under 58.5, 59, Donnie.
By the way, impressive victory last week for USC, because you play a football team that would love playing nothing more than in the rain, and it very rarely rains in Los Angeles. It did this week. So one of those teams that we usually talk about, Joe, not as tough as maybe you should get from Lincoln Riley. They were tough last week, and they picked up that victory. Now, they go on the road, and sometimes, Joe, you look at Oregon and say, what are the weather conditions? Very good today. No rain in the forecast, very light winds here. But when you look at Autzen, that stadium is so damn loud, and it's so tough to play in. That's going to be a key contributor. So when we look at the quarterbacks, Joe, Dante Moore and Jaden Maeva, 250.5 and 222.5. By the way, Moore is the 222.5. You're expecting USC possibly to be trailing in this game. So Maeva, does he get that mix at 250?
Well, I mean, his number's 298 for the year, basically, so that's 50 yards less. Now, we know why, because Oregon has one of the best secondaries in all of college football. $127 allowed per game, 50% completion percentage. They've only allowed, Donnie, 6 passing touchdowns all year. But you look at the game, I don't know if you saw the game against Minnesota, but, Minnesota doesn't have an explosive offense.
Yeah.
They were still able to move the football through the air to score some points. That's got to be the matchup today, because Oregon's going to shut down the rushing attack. They're going to stack the box. They're going to say, hey, Maeva, beat us over the top. We can play man-to-man coverage. We're going to blitz off the edge. Let's see if your offensive line is up to par. That's where Lanning, to me, has the advantage over Lincoln Riley. We'll see how this plays out. But if we're talking quarterbacks to get through their number, Maeva has to get through the 250. Otherwise, I don't think they win or cover this matchup.
By the way, take a look at my betting card for this game here, Joe. It's simple because the running game is the key to the ingredients today to mix up a nice birthday cake and a victory, Joe, for Oregon. How about that? Davison and Whittington, each guy to score, plus 188 when they both do that. Now, when we take a look at those rushing props here in this game, you look at Oregon, Whittington listed at 83.5, Davison listed at 53.5. We understand they are big play running backs here that can certainly get after it on the field, and if you're just playing into it, as Joe keeps pointing out, you got to be able to stop the run against Oregon today. And the one thing that's interesting is maybe more of that running game you lean on because there are so many injuries at the wide receiver position, which has been now a couple weeks for Oregon at this point, Joe. If we're looking at running backs today, including Oregon and also Miller from USC, where would you go?
I went with Davison today. Now, he leads the team with 12 rushing touchdowns, but I took his yards.
Yeah.
So 53.5 again. Whittington was going to get a bulk of the carries as well.
Yeah.
But again, I want to go with Davison. I want to go with the shorter number. He potentially could break out. He's got better vision. He's a freshman. They've involved him in the offense week to week to week, getting more involved in more carries. So Davison would be the guy for me. But again, you look at even Hill, another freshman, averaging 8.6 yards per carry, Donnie. When you have three running backs that could potentially be fresh legs at all times, that's very difficult to defend against. They all bring a different aspect. Whittington is a little bit tougher between the tackles, but I still like Davison in this matchup.
Wide receivers, Joe, of course, are going to play a big thing on the outcome. By the way, Mekhi Lemon, 95.5. Yeah. So let's just start with him right there. He basically has to get 100 yards today to cash that ticket.
Yeah, and I don't know if yes, you're right. So he should be able to get there. He's the main target from Maeva, but I like his
Lemon.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the name.
He's an anytime touchdown is even money. Now, I've been betting him for even money. I took him a couple of weeks ago when they played Notre Dame. He was shut out. Hasn't really stepped up and hit pay dirt consistently. He didn't do it against Northwestern either. I think he does it here. And again, if you're USC, you want to push tempo. You want to get this game into the 30s because you're full capacity, right? You want to see if you could outscore Oregon, especially with limited playmakers. Oregon, I think, wants to play a lower scoring game, and we'll see how this matchup plays out. But Lemon is a key contributor. He's under that total, and he doesn't hit pay dirt.
Yeah.
Going to be very difficult for USC to cover.
Now, if we do take a look at, from an Oregon perspective, a couple wide receivers down, Joe, but you also are getting some lower-level numbers there. Sadiq, 55.5. McClellan, 39.5. Benson, 30.5. Johnson, 27.5. The best of the rest, like we have that, on this show, a segment. Who's the best of the rest we should pay attention to for Oregon?
It is Sadiq. If you've watched him play, you talk about the tight ends. Him and Johnson, I think, are going to be critical for Oregon's offense. Sadiq is a big body. He's flexible. You look at the game against Minnesota. I mean, made huge plays, especially in the fourth quarter, keeping drives alive, putting them in a position to score points. He's got great size. He would be the go-to guy for me. Again, if you're going to run the football, right, are you going to be as explosive over the top going after USC? I don't think so. I think it's more short to intermediate throws. Let's sustain drives. Let's keep Maeva and that offense on the sidelines. So Sadiq would be my thing. I would take Johnson, though, too, anytime touchdown today.
Now, we like to play this game here, Joe. The total yards for these ball clubs here. I'm going to give you Oregon.
Okay.
What does Oregon have to have today? I'm not going to tell you the number. What do they need to go over their total yardage in this game? Like, what do you think it is?
I think today, 4.25.
Oh, good. Almost guessed. 444.5.
But that's right.
Call 450, Joe.
They're averaging 475. So that's telling you. But here's the thing, Don.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be 240 and 240, right?
Yeah.
Or, 220 and 220 to get to, let's say, 440, right? Could be 300 on the ground today. I mean, that is the problem, I think, when you look at the total yardage. I personally think if we could just get rushing yards for Oregon, I'd rather do that.
Yeah. You know what? Oregon, total rushing yards. You ask, you shall receive, Joe. This is a fun market now. Now, give me this. It's 444 for the game for Oregon. What do you think their total rushing yards is today? And by the way, I don't think they had these numbers the weeks previous.
200?
This is good. It's 205.5.
I love it. I love the 205.5 more because, again, USC's given up 201 over the last 4 games.
Yeah.
this game is going to be Landing's going to test the physicality early, right?
They even give you the alt market.
Right. Let's. Wow. You really
Joe 250 plus on the ground plus 230.
I see that. I like because
now we
here's
got
the
you.
thing, because you get burned in the prop market if the guy gets injured.
Ooh,
right?
That's good.
So if you think the matchup is going to be running the football because the playmakers aren't there, then I like that matchup in the alt market better because the game plan still holds true. But it doesn't matter if it's Hill. It doesn't matter if it's Whittington. It doesn't matter. Davison. You get all three bunched into the 250. You even get Dante Moore in there.
Yeah.
You don't have to play a specific guy and risk the injury market in the prop bet. That's a better market now in these marquee games, in my opinion, if you feel like you have the analysis down about how potentially plays out.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're not a genie, right? I mean, you can only break it down a certain way. But this has got to be, I believe, the way that Oregon attacks it early on.
They even give it to you, Joe, like first quarter alt yards you can go with here for them. So, I mean, you got a lot of fun stuff.
I don't like the quarter because
you get caught up in it.
Not only that, the big games, there could be jitters. It could be a filling out process. Could take a quarter to these teams get an assessment. I just like the bigger long-term approach. But
that's a fun
alt markets in the rushing and passing attack are interesting.
Total rushing yards for Oregon, once again, 205.5. If you're calling this is the way they beat them on the ground, it actually sounds like a lot, but really, it's not as this plays through.
Yeah.
You should get 100 yards rushing on the ground in each half in this game, and maybe to close it out, you get a couple extra carries for the rest of the way. We're going to get back to the ACC with Pitt and Georgia Tech coming up next. It's the Sports Grid Network. It's Donnie right side. It's Joe Lisi. Week 13 action. We'll be right back. It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In the 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on Sports Grid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on Sports Grid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
Sports Grid College Football Today, Donnie right side, and Joe Lisi back to the ACC. And if you remember, guys, on our Week 0 show, it was Joe Lisi that said the ACC is the best conference in college football. Is that true? I don't know. Check the tape. Check the tapes, people.
I said Oklahoma would upset Alabama. Go to the tape at plus 186. Listen to that.
Oh, plus 186 action, Joe. You get a little plus money today if you are betting the Pitt Panthers, I should say, taking on Georgia Tech. The 3.5, Joe, they're gone. They're down to 2.5 in the total. Once again, a 59 49.5 in this game. Monster game for Georgia Tech. Monster game for Pitt. A lot to be decided in the ACC. Even if we don't like the ACC, you got to talk about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup because, again, obviously both teams fighting for an ACC title berth. I want to see if Pitt brings it on the road, knowing how they stepped up against Notre Dame. They got smacked around. And we talk about a dominant home team in Georgia Tech, undefeated at home, 5-0, 4-1 against the number. The games that they've won straight up by an average margin of victory of just dominating fashion. Let me just double-check it, 22.2 points per game, Donnie. So they have stepped up. The only game they didn't cover was against Temple, where they laid 23.5. They struggle, though, again, when teams can throw over the top. And that was the one game. Clemson couldn't throw earlier in the season. Remember that?
Yeah.
But you look at the game against NC State. C.J. Bailey had a breakout performance. He completed 75% of his passes, 340, 3 touchdowns. He was also running the football. That's what Pitt brings to the table. They couldn't do it against Notre Dame last week, but are we saying Georgia Tech's defense is as good as Notre Dame? I don't think so. When you allow 34 points to a gutless Boston College team last week,
should have lost,
and 48 to NC State, I think they could be had. I think this is a bounce-back spot. Pitt has a better defense than they've faced in recent weeks. Pitt only giving up 90 rushing yards a game and 2.5 yards per carry. Pitt wins it outright, but Heinzel breaks out with potentially a 3-touchdown performance.
How about that? Because I was just taking a look at some of the passing props in this game, Joe. They do see a little elevated. Now, Haynes King, 249.5. Right. Then you take a look at Heinzel, 288.5 at this point. And if you think Heinzel's going to have a good game passing, Joe, they're not giving it to you cheap. Over 1.5 touchdown passes, heavily juiced at a -172.
Yeah, again, he's going to have to step up, right? That's why you went away from Eli Holstein to Heinzel in this matchup. He elevated his game against mediocre competition, but he got exposed last week. 0 of 13 on third down conversions, only 148 yards. Basically, 48% completion percentage against one of the top secondaries in college football. Now you're going up against a suspect secondary, giving up 247 passing yards per game. Heinzel needs to get through his number today, Donnie. He doesn't, and we get a similar performance last week, $175, $150. They're going to get blown out, so we'll see how this game plays out.
I'll tell you what's kind of interesting, too, because we're going to get to the receiving props in just a few moments here, and points are expected in this game. How many? I don't know if we're going to get to 60 or not. We'll find out. But you look at Haynes King, Joe, leader in the clubhouse right now, 70.5 rushing yards is his prop. Let me start here with Haynes King. Can he get 75-plus right around there?
He is every big game.
Yeah.
That
He's a runner.
He steps up and he counts for 100 yards. Don, he has 14 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns on the season. He's averaging 5.6 yards per carry, has over 800 rushing yards, and leads the team. And that's with Jamal Haynes and Halsey in the backfield. Halsey's amazing. You like him. 5'10", 200, transfer from UPenn. He's a pocket rocket. They utilize him in sweeps. I love both of those running backs. But again, if Georgia Tech is going to win, they have to run the football. They're averaging well over 220 yards on the ground. They're undefeated this year, Don. 6-0 every time they run for over 200. Have won by 19.5 points per game. Pitt, every time they hold you under 100 yards rushing, they're 5-1 and have won by basically 20+. So that's the matchup today.
By the way, Haynes King, Joe, ran a 250 number in his passing prop. So now we've relayed over to the wide receivers. I see Georgia Tech, Kanian, 30.5, Rivers, 50.5, and then take a look at Rutherford at 32.5. They're low numbers for a guy with 250 as expected for his passing number.
Yeah, but they throw to the running backs, Donnie. That's the problem, too. You look at Haynes. Jamal Haynes is up there with 23 receptions. Holsey, they utilize him as well. He's got 95 yards receiving. In this type of game, pop passes do count as well. So it's going to be, I would go with Rivers. He's the leading receiver. But again, touchdowns are tough. I mean, you look at Rutherford has 3, leads the team, but he's only got 28 receptions. I like the running backs to score today. On top of Haynes King, I do like Haynes to hit pay dirt at +145.
By the way, looking at those touchdown props right here, too, you look at Haynes King was listed on there a little bit lower. He's up to -260 at FanDuel today, meaning like he's going to be an auto. But by the way, you take the juice out of it, because sometimes you say, well, I don't want to pay that juice. If I ask you a question, is Haynes King going to score a touchdown or not today? Absolutely in a 60.
I know, but Donnie, but here's the problem.
How about a 2-spot,
But
Joe?
Donnie, I've done this over the past couple of weeks. Went to some guys that are workhorses for certain teams. Minus 360. They don't even get a snuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Bell from Louisville was in the end zone almost every week, and then he's basically, minus plus money or minus 110. He can't even hit there. Fletcher from Miami was minus 350 back-to-back weeks. Didn't even hit the end zone. So some of these guys, you just have to be careful. It's distribution.
Yeah.
But when you have a playmaker that has accounted for basically 300 total yards of offense and Haynes King in the big matchups, he's more likely than if they're going to win and they're going to put up points, he's hitting pay dirt at minus 260.
I think he is. I think he's getting in today. And maybe you want to parlay it off with somebody else, but you're right about it. There's no guarantees in touchdowns here, but also if we understand that they're going to be inside the 5-yard line, we're not talking about a 42.5 like, hey, limited. They're going to be in the red zone multiple times, Joe.
Yeah, so I took Katron Allen when they played Indiana.
Yeah.
Singleton, the 2 touchdowns.
Always.
And Allen was the minus 330,
Yep.
and Singleton was basically, I think, plus 1.25.
Yep.
And he got both touchdowns.
Like Jahmyr Gibbs, and you have Montgomery in the NFL. It's like, who's on the – oh, no, they took him out. Like, sometimes it is Russian roulette at that point. Let's have some more fun here with this game, Joe. Total yardage here. And I'm going to go down and have some fun with this. You expect Georgia Tech to run the football, right? Georgia Tech's total rushing yards today is what?
175.
Whoa, 172.5.
Yeah.
Right on it.
Yeah, but that's 80 yards more than what Pitt gives up. That's why I like Pitt in the game.
So you're going under that number?
I'm going under that number.
Get a couple sacks, knock that number down?
Because sack yards matter. Here's the thing. Pitt gave up a ton of rushing yards, right, to Notre Dame. But Notre Dame, Carr isn't running on the perimeter. That's where Pitt can run sideline to sideline. Notre Dame attacked them in the middle. And they could run because they were bigger, more physical offensive line.
Now, what do you think Pitt's rushing number is, Joe?
$150.
119.5, Joe.
They're going to blow through that.
There we go. We're finding steals. Steals.
Can
If
we
that was on
alt it?
Kalshi right now, they wouldn't even allow you to bet it right
Alt
now. Alted to 120 from 119.5. How about that? That's how you play it out. We'll get back to the SEC next. More action to come right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight where Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The Let's go travel down to the SEC today. Why not, Joe? Big game, Missouri and Oklahoma. When we talk about the college football playoff, you must talk about Missouri and Oklahoma, because the one thing Missouri can do is mess up Oklahoma's entire season today. This line, Joe, opened up at 7.5. You see the graphic? It's 5.5 now. And a total low, 43.5 to 42.5, depending on where you're shopping at this point, Joe. I do like this game to go over just because I think it's too low. Prbula is coming back for Missouri. Is there a chance that Missouri can pull off this upset and throw chaos into the SEC?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Missouri has a defense to keep them in it. And again, you go to Missouri's defense. They won on the road in Auburn. They went toe-to-toe with Vanderbilt before Prbula got hurt. It was a 3-point game, and they were in it.
Yep.
And they have the type of defense to potentially contain John Mateer and this offense that at times have been inconsistent, right? But Prbula hasn't played in 4 weeks. There's going to be ring rust. The quarterback to wide receiver relationship timing could be off. He's a mobile quarterback, and he had basically a dislocated ankle. So good luck with that. Even if they say he's 100%, does he want to test it out early against a defense giving up 82 rushing yards per game and 2.4 yards per carry, and held Tennessee and Alabama, two bigger, more physical teams, to only 143 rushing yards on the ground? That is their MO. I mean, Ahmad Hardy had 300 yards last week against Miss State with 3 rushing touchdowns. They ran it for 326.
Yeah.
Zollers has only completed 53% of his passes. Is Prbula, like, all of a sudden now this best quarterback? Is this Blaine Gabbert coming back? No. So I like Oklahoma. They can win it because anything's possible. But now you want to give me an extra 2 points of discount with a defense that's trending with their backs against the wall? I know there's the potential for a letdown, but they're at home, and they see everything in front of them. This team, I think, will fly to the football. But I love the over with you. I think we can get into the 50s.
Big Chest Mario's calling up there, making some ends there. He needs that Missouri victory today. And by the way, Bo Prbula will be the quarterback. 154.5, Joe, is his passing prop today.
Okay, so he gets to 154.5.
That's a blowout, then. That's a blowout.
Are they winning the game?
Blowout.
Are they winning? The one game where Oklahoma struggled, Trinidad Chambliss put up 30-plus points because he challenged them over the top. It was Kewan Lacey, it was the tempo, and I understand Missouri runs tempo, but they're going to need superior quarterback play, Donnie, to win this game. Superior. Yeah. If Joey Aguilar and Tennessee could, and he leads the SEC in passing, and he struggled with Oklahoma. With Bo Prbula that they scraped up in Happy Valley's gonna come on.
I think he's going to shine today, Joe. By the way, maybe he doesn't have to shine. I know you talked about this guy a lot this year, Ahmad Hardy, 97.5 as his rushing prop today.
Wow.
He's got to sustain that ground game for them to have a legitimate chance to pull off the upset.
Yeah, if I'm betting this, under. There's no because, again, that would lead me to believe that Missouri's winning the game, right? I would take a shot. What's their team total? Now, you got me involved in this team.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's slide it down. Let's go to team yards in this game.
Yeah.
And it's Missouri that you're looking for, right? Rushing yards or total yards?
No, rushing.
So let's go Missouri total rushing yards. Give a guess.
130.
145.5.
Oh,
we stone in the under?
Sold.
Wow. Under?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because, again, they're going to have to attack over the top. Why are you bringing Prbula back? You're bringing him back to throw the football, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Are you bringing Prbula back coming off a dislocated ankle to run?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Yes, guy's fresh in the weight room, ready to go. They're going to say his legs are as fresh as they've been all season long, Joe.
Gunnar Stockton looks sharp right there.
Yeah, dude, don't worry about Gunnar Stockton right now. Worry about this one, Joe. Oklahoma's rushing yards. You got to get the big boys in there. What do we got?
No, I think Mateer attacks them over the top. Again, you think about the big game that Missouri played. It was against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't able to run with Jam Miller. Remember that?
Yeah,
Jam Miller got knocked out.
Jam Miller
but
year.
Simpson did throw for 203 touchdowns. I understand Simpson struggled, but that was in Columbia. This is in Norman. Mateer has a light Donnie. I think he can get to 250 today.
By the way, I think we got a steal in Ahmad Hardy touchdown time today.
What's the passing yards for Oklahoma today?
Team passing yards?
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it just be the court? I don't think they have team passing yards.
They have to if they have team rushing.
Let me see. Missouri, Oklahoma. Let me see. All air. No, because it would be the quarterback, though.
Yeah, but
they have rotating quarterbacks?
No, but Don, what happens if he gets
yards?
hurt then, Don?
Yeah, but see, they don't factor that in.
That's why the rushing is. You bet the prop on the quarterback he gets hurt. I'm just saying. They should make it slightly higher, like 235.5 or something.
You love Oklahoma's defense, right, Joe?
I think they are opportunistic.
Missouri to not score a touchdown today, 9-1.
I don't want that. I'm on the over.
Maybe you can hit both, Joe. Blowout victory, 55-0 on one side of the equation at this point. So, it gets down. These are some good props to take a look at and some fun games.
I like Burks, though, for OU.
Yeah, Ahmad. I think Ahmad's going nuts in this game, Joe.
Deion Burks, anytime touchdown, receiving yards, 32 and a hook.
A lot more action, a lot more talking points to talk about today. Week 13. Joe, college football, and we still got the rest of November, December, and January to go. All the fun you can have right on the SportsGrid Network with Donnie and Joe. We'll be right back. It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In the 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Love to talk SEC football here. And why not? Because they're going to be stacking the deck here in the college football playoff with a great chance to win. Maybe the best outside of since Ohio State, Joe, in the Big Ten at this point right now. But let's focus here on the SEC teams' odds to make the college football championship here, Joe. You look at it, Texas A&M off the board, they're going to make it automatically. Georgia off the board, going to make the college football playoff. Ole Miss, minus 2,200 here, Joe. Then it drops. Alabama, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and Texas. Texas at 13-1. By the way, Oklahoma, minus 158, Joe. Playing into that game today.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is intriguing when you look at their number. I mean, I think the other intriguing one is Ole Miss because we're assuming they just win out, right? And we get that, but if they lose the Egg Bowl, Donnie, and Kiffin is not there, what happens then? I'm just saying, like, there's
Can they lose that though? Can they lose the Egg Bowl?
Why? I mean, right now, Miss State is fighting for bowl contention. Miss State pushed Texas to the limit. They pushed Tennessee to the limit. I'm just saying. The one team in the SEC that I would back for the full ride would be Georgia. I've said that from time. They're going to get my money if we're talking contenders over Alabama, over A&M, and it's no disrespect, but it's Georgia at 2-1. To win it in the SEC, but more importantly, the big thing. I mean, I just like Georgia, big picture, to win it all.
There's going to be some really good competition there because I'm very interested still, though, 1 and 2, Joe, Ohio State and Indiana. Like, you figure you're going to get a double shot at them, maybe. Like, you're going to get them in the Big Ten championship game. You're going to get them then probably in a college football playoff if they match up there. That's something I'm looking forward to here because both of those two teams you look at and you say, well, who they play this season, and yeah, they beat Texas opening day, but Texas isn't that great. I can't wait to see that sort of like a measuring stick type game. But one of those conferences outside the ACC doesn't get a lot of respect, and rightfully so, Joe. Look at the Big 12. Chance to win that. Texas Tech minus 280, then BYU plus 390. To me, Texas Tech is so far above every team in that conference, Joe. Can somebody else actually beat them in the championship game?
I mean, anything is possible, Don. I mean, the issue remains.
You fade in Bayron?
I love Texas Tech. I love what Joey McGuire's done. They have David Bailey, the nation's elite sack leader and edge rusher coming in. For this team, they've completely transformed the front seven. They're not a finesse team. They can run the football. They can throw it. They have two quarterbacks, or had two quarterbacks before Hammond went down, with Baron Morton and Hammond, that could just, step in and produce 250 to 275 through the air. This team is legit in the trenches and matches up well against any big conference, SEC, Big Ten. The matchup is going to be, who do they get? Because, again, you look at the one game that they struggled. Mm-hmm. It was Arizona State, blue-collar, physical, and that's what BYU is. If BYU in a rematch type of situation on a neutral field gets the opportunity to play Texas Tech again, it could be a different type of animal. It really can be. I mean, every other team in the Big 12 has question marks. Maybe Utah, depending if they get there, they're going to have to take care of business against Kansas State today because of a mobile quarterback. But right now, Texas Tech is as good as anybody in the nation right now.
Yeah, it's interesting, the way it plays out and how it's going to come down to it. And yes, these teams are going to be represented when they win their conferences. That's just the way it's built in to the college football playoff, Joe. But before we even get to the college football playoff, questions need to be answered here, particularly having some fun in the Kalshi markets, Joe. Who will be the next permanent head coach of the LSU football team? The leader by a wide margin right now. No surprise, it's Lane Kiffin, followed by Eli Drinkwitz, John Sumrall, and also Joe Brady down the list, Joe. Is it Lane Kiffin or nobody for LSU?
Well, I mean, no, it wouldn't be nobody. Drinkwitz is a significant drop-off. I would much rather Dillingham, that at one point in the Kalshi market was the front runner until about maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Right now, Donnie, it seems like it's Kiffin. A couple of factors that even make you think that. If he was keeping the Ole Miss job, why drag it out? Why?
He's gone. Yeah, you're not doing that.
But I'm saying, why hurt your team in that capacity, right? Like if you're dialed in on Ole Miss, and you know that you're staring the college football playoff in the balance, and you're not going, why drag it out up until this point? It could only be a detriment, right? The other factor is his son was caught with the LSU headphones on in his senior game Thursday night. They have the picture, and his daughter dates.
Oh, is that what that picture was?
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, he's wearing LSU headphones that were given to him by Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah.
So, and his daughter dates Weeks.
You know what? It's all lining up.
But he has another year of eligibility left. So now it's not Lane's decision. It's did it for the kids. I did
That's
it for
true.
Did it for the kids. The kids want.
Look,
he doesn't look like a bad
life,
guy.
Happy wife. Wife wanted to go there.
Right. Right. I'm just saying. And let's say $13 million, and supposedly $13 million and $25 million guaranteed roster salary.
That's a pro team.
They only had 18 with Kelly. They're bucking in another $7 million and $13 million straight up. Can you imagine? Look, Lane Kiffin gets the SEC. He coached at Tennessee. He was one of the best offensive minds for Nick Saban, leading them to a national championship. He's elevated this program in Oxford to a certain level. LSU's a different animal. I mean, it's championship or bust.
By the way, which means that James Franklin wouldn't do well at LSU. Is that what you're saying?
Donnie, come on. You might as well roll out Ed Ogeron back. Did you hear he would have Eddie O on staff? And
smart move.
But Ed O said, because let's not forget, Ole Miss, when
he was there.
There was the ties. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin back in the day.
Oh, he'll be a big-time recruiter there. He probably would go back. By the way, we're hearing word out of LSU, if they don't get Lane Kiffin, This guy down there in South Florida called Big Chest Cristobal.
Yeah, get out.
Come on now.
Don,
Look,
come on. I
Kalshi
would take
Market,
Alex.
$100 pays back $3,300.
Okay, where's Alex Golish on that list? Give
He's
me
on there.
Golish.
Let me see.
Give me Golish over Cristobal.
Same price, Joe. You want to lay $100 down, $100 on Golish? $334. By the way, the thing I like about Kalshi too is they have a picture of
Golish?
Frank Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think it's a picture of the old singer Frankie Wilson.
Okay.
Like back from like the 50s and the 60s.
No.
Yes, I love that they do stuff like this on this.
Okay.
How about Will Stein? Who's that? Who's Will Stein?
Will Stein's the OC
Oh,
at
come on
Oregon.
now, stop.
Here's the thing. Hang on.
Yeah,
Let me
go
tell you.
ahead.
I'll tell you this right now. Frank Wilson, great recruiter, great guy to the LSU program. He has no shot to be the head coach of LSU. He has absolutely no shot.
Now, you want to have more fun here? Let's go to Florida at this point because right up at the top still is Lane Kiffin, which they're going to be arguing and fighting over at this point. But Jed Fish is the leader of the Kalshi market. The cold fish. 100 pays back 304 on Jed Fish, followed by Lane Kiffin, followed by Eli Drinkwitz.
All right, I would take Drinkwitz over if Kiffin goes to LSU, right? Drinkwitz would be an upgrade because, again, he's taken Missouri to a certain level. You're not going to win consistently in Columbia. You have the resources at Florida. But if we're talking now, they won't do this because they went with Napier. But what is Golish? Because, again, Golish understands the landscape.
4%, 4 cents.
Oh, he would be. See, I really think Summerall would probably be what, 15?
Summerall is 2%, so he's at 4 cents right now.
Golish has got better odds than Summerall, which is intriguing to me. See, I would go like if I'm Florida and I can't get the big cat. Obviously, Drinkwitz would be good, but again, Drinkwitz in big games over the past couple of weeks, even though he's had a backup, hasn't stepped up. I would take Golish at least knocked off. Florida.
You know what I like, Joe?
Who?
Lincoln Riley. Come on now.
Is Gruden on there?
Huh? Yes, Gruden is on there. He's at 1% though right now.
Really?
He's trending down.
Supposedly he's taking the Arkansas job.
Well, how about this? You know who would like this?
You have Arkansas?
Our friend Kevin Walsh, Marcus Freeman, 2 cents. 100 pays back 5 G's to go to Florida.
It's not happening.
James Franklin's even on this list, Joe. You can bet.
Take him.
Now that would be something. He takes the Virginia Tech job and then goes to Florida 2 weeks later. At that point,
Arkansas is an intriguing job, and keep an eye out for Gruden for that.
Do you think he goes back to college or goes to college? Did he ever coach college?
No, but he has ties to Tennessee. It's a long story.
Yeah. What's the story? We got a couple seconds left. Come on, you got it? Get finishing out?
I think his wife was a cheerleader there, I believe, back in the day.
That's what we go. That's how we get down to business.
Down the lights.
Knocking it down. That's what we do. It's mayhem here on College Football Saturday. It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In the 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight where Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's That's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
More fun on SportsGrid College football today. It's how we get down to business. Week 13, AFL action, NFL action, NCAA action. Joe, I'll keep going right down the list here. You paying attention over there? You love the action? You love the action? What are you firing in markets right? What are you firing in right now?
I did the we didn't get to it, but the Arkansas team rushing.
Oh.
I did. I think they're going to abuse Texas on the ground. I know Texas has a good defense.
Yeah.
But I like Mike Washington. I like Taylon Green, and I think they step up with a dominating performance.
By the way, Joe, if we had these marketplaces when they had Felix in the backfield with
Felix Jones and Darren McFadden.
Oh, my goodness. Both
Peyton Hillis, don't forget him.
That's true. On the cover of Madden.
Hero.
Let me get to one more Kalshi market with you, Joe. Heisman Trophy. I'm having trouble with this one. I might need some answers. Fernando Mendoza is number one on the list, 46%.
Yeah.
Which means you're not going to get a great buyback, but still, you can make a little bit of money. Julian Sainz, 36% here on Kalshi, followed by Marcel Reed, Jeremiah Love, and Diego Pavia. Understand this, Joe. Does this not feel like it comes down to the Big Ten championship game, which Ohio State's going to be a favorite there? How can Mendoza beat Sayin when they're the 1-2 punch and Ohio State beats them?
Yeah, I understand, but what if Ohio State wins? I'll just throw a score out. 21-10, and both guys throw for 150 yards.
But you can't give it to Mendoza then.
Well, I don't think. Again, I still like Marcel Reed because if they're undefeated, like right now.
Yeah. Because Reed's going to play if Reed wins the SEC championship game.
And what if he accounts for 350 total yards against Texas and 350 against whoever he plays, Georgia? Yeah. Whoever, and they dominate, and they're 13-0 in the SEC.
Yeah,
he's got great odds.
11. Let me type you up a little bit of odds marker right here, Joe. He's 11 cents right now, so that $100 would pay back $910 for Marcel Reed. Basically, 9 to 1 price.
You're getting the best team in the SEC on paper.
Yep.
Right now, with 2 games left. Right, they're laying 50, so he's going to put up numbers today. Right, 54. So there's a gimme. Right, and then all he's got to do is and all eyes on Thanksgiving weekend against, by the way, the team that everybody wants in the college football playoff, Arch Manning. If he torches that defense for 450.
And then torches Georgia?
Stop. No. I mean, if I want Georgia to win in that situation, but still.
All right, how about Utah? You ever been to the Muss? You ever want to go to Salt Lake City and watch a game from the Muss?
No, but I mean, Rice Eccles is fantastic. I mean,
Kansas State, Utah today, 17.5-point favorite.
Like
Utah run them over 52.5. By the way, Kansas State, we used to hype them up because they were week 0 here. They seem like they've been a 0 this whole season.
Chris Kleiman, I mean, he's a good coach, but you know what the problem is?
What
the
is
money. They don't have the NIL to
Little Apple's not paying out.
I mean, again, you have good players. You don't have elite players. You're not rolling into Manhattan, Kansas to start a college football career. Now, granted, Avery Johnson and that team are blue collar. They're 5-5. But again, the problem with Kansas State is they laid I think 20.5 last week to Oak State. They struggled 14-6. They lose games they should roll.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden cover games that they have no business covering. This is one of them against Devin Dampier in Utah. Utah smashed Baylor last week. They were running all over on the Baylor Bear defense. Again, in this type of situation, with Kleiman fighting for bowl contention with that offense, I think it's a lower scoring game. I think Kansas State has a slightly better defense overall than Baylor. They just got trashed in the second half. I think they can keep it into 4 quarters. It's a Fox game, the standalone. I think they come to play, and Utah at times hasn't been as explosive. Give me K-State with the points.
How about the bounce back the other way, Joe? Usually when a head coach gets fired, hey, how's the team going to play? Aranda coming back for Baylor, no AD at Baylor, and now they're playing themselves Arizona on the road. But however, look ahead line, Joe, 4.5 points. It's now up to 7 at most outlets as a favorite towards Arizona.
I've been smashed by Baylor this year. I really have. I lost the Auburn game. I lost the game last week against Utah. And that's with Sawyer Robertson basically putting up 400 per game. They could throw it all over the yard. The problem is their defense. Now, Arizona overexceeded last week in a blue-collar game. The line seems to favor Baylor. I would probably take this line, but again, I can't do it, even though Tucson, it's an early kick in Tucson, which is 9 o'clock,
yeah.
right? Or at 10 o'clock in Tucson. I would be inclined to take the points with Baylor. I like Sawyer Robertson. Again, it's the opposite way. Elko in Texas, A&M didn't cover when he got the extension. I think they cover when he gets the extension now.
Get it back. Tulane and Temple, Joe. The reason we bring this up, coming from sunny Philadelphia today. Temperature's 52 degrees, no rain, 6. You can go get a
what do you mean no rain? It's rain.
You can get a good cheesesteak down by the stadium around there, man. You can sit down and relax this one. I'll hit you in the head with a semolina, pal. 7.5 is the line. Tulane is the favorite. Temple, by the way, 5 wins for the Owls with Casey Keeler. They need 1 win. If they don't get it today, they got to get it against North Texas. Can they get 1 win, too? Bowl eligible.
I think they can. I don't think they're going to get it against Summerall. Summerall didn't take the job or the job interview with Florida this week. He's dialed
Bad
in.
Move.
I like Tulane. I lay it.
Tulane. By the way, Tulane's sitting there in that 12 spot right now. You got to win. You got to win impressively. You got to stay up top.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for Summerall, let's not forget top 12. Right. Last year, you lost your conference championship to Army. You know, if you're going to take a bigger job, the best way to get that job is get to the college football playoff and take care of business.
Maryland, the ugliest state flag in the 50 states here, Joe. They're going to take on Michigan, 13.5. They're going to wear the ugly uniforms with that stupid flag helmet and get rolled today. What do you think?
You got a freshman quarterback. I think this is a bad matchup for Maryland. I just think Michigan on the road in this type of spot can confuse Malik Washington. I like Wink Martindale in that defense going up against potentially a one-dimensional offense in the Terps. And I don't know if Maryland could shut down the run. They've stepped up against better competition, covered against Nebraska, covered against Washington at home. I would lay it with Michigan here.
By the way, I want to go backtrack because we're having fun with some of these market plays at this point. Top 25 action, Joe. Let's go to Notre Dame. 3:30 start today against Syracuse. 36.5 is the favorite. We talked about it. High total. But let me scroll down to the team yards prop for rushing for Notre Dame today. And I have it up right now. What do you think it is?
300.
Joe, it's 217.5. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
That means Carr's going to have a field day.
No, dude, we're running. We're running wild.
You just think they're going to run all over him?
By the way, I talked to Kevin earlier this week. He brought up a good point. Heisman Trophy race. Love probably not going to win it.
No.
Does he score 4 times today, though, where they try to push him
probably.
into it?
What is he?
Come
He's
on,
probably
let's
minus 360,
come on now.
minus
Joe,
600.
total rushing yards, 217. That's Love over 100. That's Price at $175. Throw in some yards there for CJ.
I've watched
Can I get you involved?
No, not in that market. I can't.
How about we alt it down to 150 yards? Minus 850, Joe. Bargain. 850 to win $100. You know they run for
Arkansas.
$150. Come on now. We'll be right back with some best bets on the way. It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight where Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Almost time for game time, Joe. In 5 minutes, we have live kickoffs out there. Let's make sure the people have the information that they need to know and maybe be a little bit more profitable today, Joe. USC and Oregon. That's not starting off a noon kickoff. That's at 3:30 today. But that line staying steady at 10.5 across the board, 59.5 as the total. That looks to be a good one here and also can play a big factor in the national championship picture.
Yeah, I just think Lanning is better than Lincoln Riley. I don't like USC's rush defense heading into this matchup. Again, Dante Moore, I know has stepped up, but I think it's the rushing attack of Oregon today, and I just think their front seven and secondary are just a little bit better than USC. The fact that they're in Autzen Stadium, I think they cover this number handily. Minus the 10.5, I like Oregon.
If you had, Joe, one prop to choose from this game for Oregon or USC, what would that prop be?
I like Davison from the rushing yards.
Yeah.
But the anytime touchdown, if USC is going to cover, Lemon's got to hit the end zone. And at plus 105, that's an anytime that I really like.
I got two running backs, Joe, to hit Pater today, little cash money. By the way, there's your ticket right there on Oregon. Minus 10.5, minus 102. Davison over 53.5 rushing yards. Guy can hit that home run, minus 114. Lemon 8-time touchdown, plus 100. And then Moore also an anytime touchdown, plus 200. He's running one in.
I just think, again, with limited weapons in this type of game, that whenever you get a quarterback that's somewhat mobile, again, 2-1 at home, I think he could tuck it and run. In a game that's meaning so much to this team and they have to win, Moore could be live today.
By the way, for me, Davison and Whittington, anytime touchdown market, both of them to score plus 188. That is a parlay. Sort of off that, I had a lot of success early in the season, Joe, whether it be Notre Dame with Love and Price, and also Singleton and Allen cashed in for me early in the season. So some fun to watch out for that one. Let's get to the next game in the ACC, Joe. Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech. Once again, those 3.5 numbers at the opening marker, they're down to 2.5 across the board and a total of 59.5. This one going to go a long way to decide who wins the ACC, Joe.
It can, and I'm all with Pitt. I think they have the better defense. I like Heinzel in this type of situation. He's got a number 281.5. Don't be shocked if he goes for 3.25. This is a Georgia Tech secondary that got abused by C.J. Bailey and NC State and even Boston College through the air. So I like Pitt in this matchup. I think Heinzel could potentially throw 3 touchdowns. That's plus 205 today.
How about a devastating finish here for this season for Georgia Tech, who had everything they needed to, got a loss. Okay, the ACC still in the picture. They lose today, then they get hammered by Georgia. That'll be a tough one. But here's me, Joe. I got CLV right there. 60.5 this morning. They're down a little bit. I don't see the over today. Do I see it as like a playoff game where they stay under the total?
Well, again, I just think Pitt's going to win this game, and they could put up 28. But I don't know if Georgia Tech is going to be able to get to their average of 240 plus on the ground. That's a defense in Pittsburgh giving up 90 rushing yards per game, 2.6 yards per carry, and they can run sideline to sideline. That's why I like your under in this matchup.
12 o'clock start, Joe, as we look right now, just a few minutes away. Missouri and Oklahoma. What a monster game here in the SEC. You take a look at the price points here, Joe. 7.5s. We now have even more movement, Joe. 4.5s are on the board right now as a favorite for Oklahoma. Missouri money coming in strong before kickoff.
Yeah, I told you. Everybody reached out to me. You know, a lot of people, take it, Missouri, take it. I'm on Oklahoma. I'm not.
You like it more now.
I do. Again, the reason why is in order for Missouri to win, they're going to need Bo Prabula to step up in the passing attack. I just don't see it coming out of the long hiatus, and with the ankle injury, I'm still not buying into it. Again, Oklahoma, much better defense. They're dialed in, and they have the more experienced quarterback in John Mateer. I like Mateer. I just took him, altered him, Donnie.
Yeah.
2.25 at plus 102, 250 I think at plus 150 or 175 in that area. Got to look, but I think he breaks out. This Deion Burks, though, I mean, basically one of the top wide receivers. Could we get
Treylon Burks? Any relation?
I don't know.
Maybe.
No, Treylon Burks went to Arkansas,
Yeah.
though. Maybe there is he hasn't stepped up in the NFL, so maybe that's why. I need to get him into the end zone today, Tommy. Can we get him into the end zone today? I think it's the Oklahoma passing attack that does step up, even though Missouri's very good statistically. Miss State put up points. We saw Texas A&M abuse them with Concepcion. I like the passing attack today of Oklahoma, but I like Oklahoma. I love the over, though, Donnie. Let's get this 42.5.
That's my
alternate as high as 49.5.
Yeah, I don't see 21-17. Like, I see this game going higher than that, so I did take the over 42.5. There's it listed there, so we'll see how that one plays out. But a quarterback coming back, Pabula, I don't think hurts their offense, and I think they can score some points, Joe. Final games here that we'll go over and say, man, who can win some of these? Who can't do some of these, Joe? 12 o'clock games. Rutgers, Ohio State, 28.5. Texas A&M, Sanford, 54.5.
Now, come on.
Come on, 12
I can't bet
picks.
the Rutgers
You got to make
game.
the news.
I would take the points with Rutgers. I would lay it with A&M. It sounds crazy, 50-plus, just because they came out flat. My best bet of the day, though, I have two of them. I've Kentucky plus the points, and I like Kansas State and Vatech with the big numbers today.
Miami, by the time I get home, Miami better have a two-touchdown league.
Tennessee later today. They will gamble at your own risk, and let's get it.
Yeah, gamble at your own risk, people, but not the risk of me. Sonny Rightside and Joe Lisi. Thanks for tuning in to another edition right here on the Sports Grid Network. We will see you next week on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Good luck.